Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to our second episode in our Cure series where we take a look at our top 2 favorite tracks from each studio album. Today we are looking at 1983's Japanese Whispers through 1987's Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Today I am joined from Ryan's Vinyl Destination, Ryan Gavalier, and from the Contrarians and Rock Daydream Nation, Reed Little and Todd Evans. Our panel should have a lot of different opinions in this upcoming period of The Cure, so stay tuned. Next month, we will be looking at the next batch of our top 2 favorites, starting with Disintegration from 1989. But before we get started, let's look at some upcoming and current programming on the channel. Check out my interview discussion with Jim Bocci, audio engineer, musician, member of Fuzzbubble, Hitman, and the Tiki-Aki Orchestra. We discuss tiki, power pop, guitars, the Blue Hawaiians, and everything under the sun. Also, next month, Tom Fox joins me to take a look at our top 2 favorite tracks from the first Morrissey albums. Stay tuned for the next episode in our Beach Boys series where the panel reviews and rates selections from the Beach Boys catalog. The next selection, 1972's Carl and the Passions, so stay tuned for that. Please like, subscribe, and you know the thing. Let's get to our panel and to The Cure. Hey, welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and today we're looking at our next installment on The Cure. So we're looking at Japanese Whispers all the way through Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and we're picking our top 2 from each record. So I want to welcome Ryan Gavalier, Todd Evans, and Reed Little today. How is everybody doing, for crying out loud?
Doing
Wonderful.
fantastic.
Good. Thanks for asking.
I'm sure I'm breaking laws just by existing. I'm so good.
You know what? I was breaking laws yesterday, and here I am today. No issues. So we're going to start off with Japanese Whispers. And like we always have pretty much with this series, we've always started out with the Reed because, I mean, we're here because of Reed. Let's be honest. So let's go Reed, and then we'll go Ryan, and then we'll go Todd. So, like I said, we're doing our top 2 from each record. So, Reed, let's start off with you. What's your... Now, we all know I'm going to talk about this before, but Japanese Whispers is a compilation record taken from various singles. I think it was pretty much prepared for the U.S. market, but don't quote me on that. But it does fit in because it kind of fills in that gap between Pornography and The Top. So, anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Reed and start us off.
Okay. Well, once again, thanks for having me on. Everybody, he's blaming me for this because I'm the person who suggested doing the Cure rundown.
But that's how it works.
So to set expectations in terms of technical knowledge, as we saw after the last chat went up, somebody named SK21 posted multiple pieces of band trivia under the last video that I was like, yeah, that's way more about The Cure than I will ever know. I'm just a music fan, kids. I love music. I love talking about music, but I don't know who was doing what, where, when, why. All I can tell you is whether I like it and why.
Well, you know, Reed, when we deal with these Cure fans, they're hardcore.
They're hardcore. That is absolutely correct.
It's true.
I mean, clearly people were searching out Cure content and found the video, which good for them, and you, good for you. So Japanese Whispers, in a way, a very real way, this was my introduction to The Cure in 1983 because I had never heard of The Cure. And I saw the video for Let's Go to Bed on MTV in 1983. That was my absolute first exposure to The Cure. And I was an MTV addict. I loved any song on MTV. But other than that, I didn't really pay any attention to The Cure for several years after that. I told the story on the last video. But nonetheless, I'm going to start off with my first favorite track being Let's Go to Bed. Now, after, not just because it's a sentimental favorite, although I'm sure that plays some part in it, but Pornography was functionally as dark as a band could go without being a parody. And then they toured, and apparently that was so oppressive that it was actually messing up the members of the band. And Robert Smith decided to go a completely different way. And people talk about Japanese Whispers as if it was a pop album, and it is not. The music on Let's Go to Bed may sound like the Cocteau Twins, but if you listen to the lyrics, it's got a very uncertain, um, very existential lyric. It's very Robert Smith to me. I don't see how this song would not have fit in fine on 17 seconds. So I just think it's a good Cure track. And the fact that it also was the first exposure to the band for me just adds to it. You want me to do both of them at the same
Yeah,
time?
do them both.
Okay. So for my second choice from Japanese Whispers, so Let's Go to Bed was an A side single. My
Hmm.
second choice is actually a B side, and that is Speak My Language.
Oh, nice.
So again, it's another song that's a little bit poppy, maybe in the construction of it, but it's got this great Robert Smith lyric, which to me is kind of about social alienation. I mean, lyrics are always open to interpretation, and maybe he said it was about something at some point. But that's what I get out of listening to it. You know, he makes eye contact with somebody, and when he's looking at him, he feels like he
Hmm.
understands what they're saying. Then he looks away and forgets it all. That's just a great image and the kind of thing that makes Robert Smith who he is. And again, even though it's poppy, it's still just straight up Cure to me.
Right. Excellent choice. Didn't know we were going to go with any B sides, but well, actually, it's kind of a B side, but it's also on Japanese Whispers, so it counts. But yeah, I was looking at some of those tracks too, but I didn't go with any of them.
Well,
Ryan, get go
there
ahead.
aren't all that many choices, so I expect between the four of us we might overlap a little bit on this album, maybe less on the
Well,
others.
yeah, but I think as we keep going, I think we're going to find that everyone's going to have a lot more variety as opposed to what we had before. Because on the first batch, we were pretty much all in line to some extent. But I bet you
That's
we're
true.
gonna just gonna open right up as we keep going. So, Ryan Gavalier, what you got?
All right, thanks. So I'm glad to be on this. I've been a fan of The Cure for a while now. They've been kind of pretty important to me at many points in my life, especially like early 20s. You know, dating a girl who really loved them, and I already really liked them too. So the music took a whole different meaning on in some ways, which I'll mention a little bit more later on. For this compilation, my picks were The Walk and The Love Cats.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that both of these are real classic. The Walk kind of having a bit more of a new wavy synthy type of feel to it, that cool just really cool riffs and stuff with the synths on here. Kind of a chaotic feel to it. The production's a little bit weird on it. Feels a little muddled, but I think it almost kind of adds to the effect of the song in some ways. I think it's a really cool track. Great early stuff by the band. The Love Cats, man, this is a classic. I mean, this is that really great kind of jazzy, loungy type of
Hmm.
piano. Great bass riff on here, a good like walking bass riff, great vocal performance, and just I don't know, just a really cool atmosphere. The production on this one sounds top notch. I mean, this sounds like something that could be recorded now, like but better, obviously. But like if this got released today, it would still sound contemporary. Which I will say, The Walk does not have that same effect, but they're very different songs, so it's totally all right. Um, yeah, I mean, these were kind of obvious choices for me on this album. I mean, I think it's good stuff. There's really not much by The Cure that I dislike. I think they're a really consistent band overall. But I do think that compared to some of the material that came before this album, not quite as classic. 'Cause I think like Faith and 17 Seconds and Pornography are all masterpieces. And then Three Imaginary Boys, pretty classic too, but not quite as good. But wow. Yeah. Those are my two picks from this album, The Walk and The Love Cats, both classic songs.
Both are classics. You can't argue with that at all.
So, little piece of pseudo trivia: if you watch the video for Love Cats, they all start off wearing gray suits because, of course, all cats are gray.
That's awesome.
Well, I never really noticed that, but yeah, there you go.
I'm not much of a music video person, and I have to say I've actually never seen that video. The only Cure music video I've ever watched is Lullaby, which is classic.
Well,
That's a good one.
classic, but
Yeah, we used to watch that all the time, like my friends and I, just when we were listening to music, that video. But that's the only one I've ever seen of their videos.
all the
Other than
Cure
that-
videos are great.
Really?
Oh my God, yes, they're classics.
I'm gonna have to check them out then.
Highly
I've heard-
entertaining.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Evans.
Okay, so my two songs from this album came. I actually my introduction to the Cure was this right here, "Staring at the Sea," the singles, and both of the songs that I picked from Japanese Whispers were on this. This was out already, and we played it at the radio station at the University of Georgia where I worked. And so I didn't really start discovering the Cure like when Japanese Whispers came out. I discovered them later. So this was out, and Head on the Door was out just prior to that. So those were the two I started with. But I picked as my first pick, "Let's Go to Bed." I think it's a classic Cure song. It apparently I didn't realize this. It's the only song on that album that has a live drummer. I guess all the other songs are drum machine. And I just think it's them really starting to sound like a band that's not only a band that can make stuff like on Faith and Pornography, but a band that can also make pop songs too. And the second track I picked, I almost didn't pick it because it's a real obvious choice. And I really wanted to pick The Upstairs Room because I've always really liked that a lot. I really like the atmosphere of that. But I went with Love Cats. And the reason I went with the Love Cats is because I think the melodies in the Love Cats are absolutely brilliant. They're something that somebody would write with that had a lot more experience than Robert Smith had with writing music, because I think that the melodies in that song are just outstanding, and they really show you at that time that this guy is going to become a really exceptional songwriter. So I went with "Let's Go to Bed" and the Love Cats.
You know what, Todd? I really can't argue with that because those are my same choices. But I came into the Cure in 1985 when Head on the Door came out. And I cannot for the life of me remember how I got turned on to that. But I remember buying the album and I got the vinyl in 85. But man, I cannot remember how I got turned on to it. Probably I read a review on it and I thought, well, this is right up my alley. But I wish I could remember. Crap. But anyway, that is the first album that I got turned on to. But I've always had a soft spot in my heart for all the Robert Smith tracks that are like, when he writes just a general pop song, I don't think he can really be beat. Yeah, he can do all the dark, gloomy stuff, but when he turns it around and does pop, he's got me like hook, line, and sinker. I'm in there. So I'm also going with the Love Cats. Now the Love Cats was interesting because I read something about this, and evidently he wrote this while he was drunk. They recorded it while he was drunk. They did the video when he was drunk, and he said that this is not even his favorite track at all. It's just kind of a throwaway. But as a pop song from this era, when is this? 1983, October of 83. I think it's brilliant. Still stands up. I like the production. It might have drum machines. I know that I don't think Simon Gallup was on here because I think he had quit by this point. But
Right.
I think it's just Robert and Lowell on this. But It's brilliant, great pop song. And my other one is Love. What did I just? Let's Go to Bed is my other song.
Right.
Same deal. It's a perfect pop song. I could listen to these songs. I've said this 100 times before. I could listen to both of these songs over and over again and never get tired of them. They stand the test of time. They are Cure standards. They are, what can I say? They're classics. Other than that, I don't know. That's about it. So, Todd, you and I are
So far.
Well, we'll see how we keep going. So next we're going to look at the top and read. What do you got?
Okay, so the top is very rapidly moving its way to my short list of favorite Cure albums. As a more recent Cure fan, I had only heard it very recently, and that was after fellow Contrarian Patreon subscriber Andy Blacksugar put up. He's got like a 20-minute video discussing the top. If anybody wants to go check that out, Andy's quite the muso. So it is a very heavy album. It's very interesting how the pendulum swings. After Pornography, Smith fires his band, except for Lowell Tolhurst, puts out some extremely happy sounding, although again I maintain the lyrics don't really match the music, but at least the music is very happy sounding music. And then he puts out the top, and he clearly still had some Pornography level angst to get out of his system, but not all of the album is quite that dark and intensive. So I actually have some very diametrically opposed favorites on this album. The first one is Give Me It. So musically, I think Give Me It is the most aggressive song on the album. It's got this really like irritating, screechy guitar sound. The vocal on it is really shouted more than sung. It has an amazing drum performance. I don't really keep track of drummers. I'm sorry. I never care who the drummer is on an album. But listening to that song, I'm like, man, listen to that guy do the drumming. He is good, unless it was a machine, in which case whoever programmed it is good. It's hard to tell with 80s drums sometimes if it's a live person or a machine, right? But one thing I think is really funny is the lyric on Give Me It is not just dark, it's gross. And that wasn't really a place that Robert Smith went very often. And now I don't claim to know the mind of the man. Again, I'm not, a super fan deep into the trivia of it, but it's almost like he put out a dark album and then he put out a pop album, sort of. He put out pop singles. Some people were really angry at Japanese Whispers. The Cure sold out and all of this. And I can just see Robert Smith going, "Oh, you want dark? Well, here's dark." And like I said, the lyrics on it are kind of, in some places, they're a little nasty, which is not the usual thing. But I just love how aggressively annoying this song is. As a lifelong metal fan, sometimes I need that. However, my second favorite is the polar opposite of that, and that is the track The Empty World. And again, we're starting to see the types of songs that the Cure are going to do for the rest of their career, because The Empty World would have fit in perfectly on 17 Seconds, right alongside A Forest. It's just the most Cure song on the top to me. It's like everything stereotypical about the Cure. It's got that spacey sound. It's got jangly guitar. It's got Robert Smith actually singing. And it's the polar opposite of Give Me It. So those are my yin and yang picks.
Very nice. Excellent picks. Mr. Gavalier, what you got?
All right. So the top. Another cool album. I don't like it quite as much as some of the other albums that the band has made. I think it's a good album, a bit uneven for me. Not always the best sounding album either for me, but I do think it has a lot of interesting experimentation. They went way out on this album. There's all kinds of instruments like saxophone and a harmonica and just a lot of weird stuff. And I do agree it's a pretty heavy album, pretty dark sounding. I mean, you have some real heavy tracks on here, but those aren't really what I went for my favorite picks. My first one is Bird Mad Girl. That's a cool song. It feels like The Cure, but they infused a little bit of the Police into it, especially those bass riffs and kind of the guitar sound. Just kind of the overall groove to it. It's almost like a little funky with that bass riff, not like funk, but it's kind of funky, especially for The Cure. And I think this song just takes you to a different world. It's really, really atmospheric, and half the time that's what I'm looking for when I'm listening to The Cure. It's not really the lyrics as much, although some of the lyrics do really hit me hard. But it's just, how does this song make me feel atmosphere-wise? And this one definitely affects me pretty strongly. And then the second one is going to be Wailing Wall, I'm sorry, which is another, this one's a really gloomy song. This one's really dark. It's slow. It's got kind of this weird, these scratchy effects. I don't know if it's the guitar or what, or viola or something. I don't know. It's a really weird sound, but just like just scratching like crazy, and it's like really chaotic and cool. Like I said, a slower song, really mournful vocal performance on here. This song feels like it could have been on something like Faith or 17 Seconds. It's very gothic and gloomy, and once again, very, very strong atmosphere. This one's a total opposite, because I think while Bird Mad Girl is kind of mournful, it's more upbeat. This one's mournful, and it's really like slow and kind of sludgy feeling, and just you feel like you're in like a black hole. Just really great stuff here. Like I said, not one of my favorite albums by the band. I still think it's good, but not one of my favorites. But I do think that both of these tracks are real classics.
Excellent. I'll go with that. Todd, what you got?
All right. So I picked as my first of my two favorites, Shake Dog Shake. I think Shake Dog Shake starts a tradition, not that they didn't have strong lead-off songs on albums before this, but it starts a tradition of a really super strong first track on a Cure album. And it started the set for many years, and I didn't see the Cure until the Wish era, 93, 94, 92. Yeah, 92. And I'm pretty sure it started the set then, but it means a lot to me, mostly because it starts the set on the greatest concert film of all time, The Cure in Orange, which is apparently not officially available, but there's still VHSs of it out there in thrift stores. And I think I recorded mine onto a DVD that I have to go get out and watch it again because it's so good. I just think Shake Dog Shake is a really strong track, and I think it's definitely my favorite on the album. The second song I chose, and I want to say that I really almost chose Give Me It, and I want to say something really quick about that one first. Give Me It is like the first of a couple of different Cure songs that they're going to do more later. And it starts out with, "Get away from here, get your fingers out of my face." And it's basically, it reminds me a lot of a song on Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Just really raw, angsty, I'm angry kind of a song, and I really like it. And I really wanted to pick it, but I found something that I liked better. But that was Andy, what's his name? Andy Anderson is the drummer on that, by the way. who I'm not familiar with. But the song I picked as my second one is Piggy in the Mirror. And the reason I picked that one is because it has a really simple drum part, which I like a lot, and it gives the song a lot of space. But it's also got this rhythmic synth string kind of accompaniment that almost sounds like Kashmir. It's like this rhythmic kind of synth notes that almost sound like the strings in Kashmir. And I really like that. And it's got Hammond organ in it, which is unusual for a Cure song. And the solo, and at first I wasn't sure whether the solo was a keyboard or guitar. And through repeated listenings, I'm pretty sure it's a guitar. But the solo sounds both Asian and Middle Eastern kind of at the same time, which I think is really interesting. So I picked Shake Dog Shake and Piggy in the Mirror.
Excellent choices. Now we say that real fast. Differentiate. Thank you, Reed.
So far, 6 different tracks.
Yeah.
Well, except for now.
Uh-oh.
I'm going with Shake Dog Shake. I think it bridges that gap between pornography and the singles. It's hard, and I don't want to say dissonant. That's not the word I want to go for. It's
abrasive, maybe.
It's abrasive,
yeah,
yet accessible to some degree. It kind of bridges that gap. I think it's a great opener, and I do believe you are 100% correct. I believe they did open up the Wish tour with that track. I have to think back and get in my, time machine, but I'm pretty sure that I think they opened that up. And I remember when they opened that up, I thought I was so surprised by it, Great track, though. I think it's probably, I wouldn't say it's the strongest track, but I think it's one of the strongest tracks. And like I said before, for my second choice, I can't help but love Robert Smith doing pop because I think the guy's brilliant. So I'm choosing on this one, Dressing Up. And that was written about Robert Smith's ritual of putting on his makeup before each show. It's kind of electronic, a little bit of guitar on it, but it's like I don't know if it's like a keyboard that does that panpipe type sound, but it's catchy. It goes along with the Love Catch or Let's Go to Bed. It kind of fits in with that pop genre, that kind of pop vein of the Cure. And like I said, I can't help myself. I just love that crap. So I'm going with Shake Dog Shake and Dressing Up. Now, Ryan, what was your pick again? You said Piggy in the Mirror?
No, that was Todd.
Oh,
that was me.
No,
Todd.
I said Bird Mad Girl and Wailing Wall.
Those were both contenders for me too.
But those are, maybe I'm thinking Piggy in the Mirror. Did anybody choose Piggy in the Mirror?
That was Todd.
That was Todd. Darn. That also is kind of, it's kind of poppy to some degree, but not quite to the what I want to say, to the peak of Dressing Up. But you guys had all good choices. It's hard for me to keep track unless I'm taking notes. But anyway, let's go back to Reed, and now we're going to Head on the Door.
Head on the Door. All right, so the Head on the Door is a lot of people's favorite Cure album for whatever reason. It's often discussed as being their poppiest album, but I was thinking about this when putting together, probably like a lot of you guys, after I pick my picks, I put together a playlist and just go over and over and over again. And as a pop band, the Cure are very strange. They are not, if you think about the era they were coming out in, the real pop music was like Michael Jackson and Madonna. And the Cure could not be further away from that sort of music. And I was really trying to think, can you imagine Robert Smith's vocal with auto-tune on it? That would be the worst sounding thing ever. So kids,
thank God auto-tune wasn't invented then.
Yeah, if you're only used to listening to modern music where the vocalists are auto-tuned within an inch of their life, you are missing out. So, I have again a diverse group of tracks from this album. For my opener, I went with The Blood, and this one kind of similar to what Todd was saying. It has kind of a pseudo flamenco thing, but also a pseudo Arabian, or I can't talk, pseudo
Arabic?
Arabian
Right.
sounding
Yeah.
motif to it. So Robert Smith must have really liked those kind of Middle Eastern, or let's say Mediterranean sounding guitars. Um, I don't have a lot of deep things to say about this track. I just think it's got a really interesting sound to it. I love that guitar motif, and I love Robert Smith's vocal performance. And one thing that comes up on all of my when I'm going through The Cure, Robert Smith is one of those vocalists who really matches a performance to the music. And I love rock and roll belters like David Coverdale, but David Coverdale sings like David Coverdale no matter what he's singing on, right? Whereas somebody like Robert Smith, you listen to 3 songs in a row and you get 3 vastly different performances. So it's a very different type of vocal style, but that provides a consistent level of interest. And I love the fact that Smith often matches his sweetest music and his raunchiest vocal performance, although that's something that we get into more on the next album. My second favorite track, or I shouldn't actually say it's my second favorite, my second in the running order on the CD. This is my favorite track on the album, which is Close to Me. I kind of didn't pick a lot of the singles, but I love this song because it's so freaking weird. Just the idea that anybody listened to this and went, "That's a single." Um, Again, just go back to the time. Listen to any Michael Jackson single from 1984, and then put in "Close to Me." One of these is pop music, and one of these is not. But I'm a sucker for everything about it. The hand clapping percussion, uh, the guy gasping in the background is another layer of performance. I'm asthmatic, so if I do that, I'll literally die. So I'm not gonna mimic that. But the idea, just the constant guy gasping in the background as you go through that, it gives it this claustrophobic feel. I know Ryan, you haven't seen the video, but in the video, the whole band is inside a wardrobe, and the wardrobe gets pushed into the ocean, and the water level comes rising up. It's the most claustrophobic thing I've ever seen. And then with the gasping noise in the background, I'm like, "Oh, I can't breathe." Um, and again, Smith's vocal performance is amazing because he does it almost whispering as well as singing.
Right.
It's fantastic. It's completely unique. And again, the idea of anybody going, "Hey, this is going to be a radio hit," that is, man, that time will never exist again.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big of a hit it was here, but that Tim Pope video for that is, I can't think of a better video to go with a track like that video. It's perfect. In fact, all Tim Pope did most of the Cure videos. I can't remember what the first video he did with them was though. But he did pretty much all their entire catalog of videos. I don't think he did Love Cats. That might be too early, but brilliant, absolutely brilliant stuff. I'll give you that. But just to tag on to what you were saying, Reed, Robert Smith was influenced by Susie and the Banshees' Kaleidoscope album and the Human League Dare on this
Okay.
record. I don't hear too much Human League Dare here, but I hear more Susie and the Banshees, but that's what he was into right then. If that, whatever, take that for whatever it means. All right, Mr.
Never heard of it.
Gavalier.
Okay. So head on the door. I do really love this album.
It's a great record.
I don't know exactly where it would be on my ranking because it's not like top 3 for me, but I do love it. Maybe top 5. It's kind of poppy, but as Reed was saying, it's very weird. I don't consider anything by The Cure to be like bubblegum pop. If it's pop Cure, then it might not be like gloomy. That's kind of what I feel like pop Cure kind of is. Like kind of feels uplifting in a way. And I'd say both of my songs kind of feel like that. My first one is 6 Different Ways, which this song's amazing. I mean, talk about perfect chemistry, perfect sequencing of all the instruments. I mean, you start off with just the intro, which is kind of like ambient and stuff. Bass comes in, drums come in, then that piano comes in, that boom, dun, boom, dun, boom, dun. Just a really weird timing on the piano. It's a really cool like groove to it. Makes you feel like you're jerking around in your seat or something. It's like so out there, but I love it. Then the violin comes in, whatever that is, and that just sounds perfect on here. I mean, it's real full sound. It complements the piano really well. I mean, there's a great chemistry between both. Mm-hmm. Robert's vocal performance on this song's perfect. Some amazing falsetto parts on here where he goes real high up. Just overall a really catchy feel. I mean, that piano riff is so hooky. It just interests you right away. And I think, I mean, it stays pretty consistent feeling wise the whole time. It's just boom, 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 pretty much. And it's just, but it never gets boring to me. And I just think it's a really beautiful, kind of poppy, but also not pop feel to it. Like I said, just perfect synchronicity between all the instruments. It's just gorgeous. And the production on it is also so good. I think that this album was definitely a lot better produced than the top. I think it's literally perfect in its sonics. And on that note, I go to my next song, which is also close to me. I mean, how could it not? It's just perfect. I mean, this song, once again, kind of poppy, but not. It's very weird. It almost feels to me like some of the songs that the Cars did in the 80s in some ways, kind of that vibe with the synths and stuff and just the overall tone and even kind of Robert's vocal performance, the like breathiness or whatever, kind of reminds me of the Cars. But like, I don't know. It's just one of those songs that hooks you in right away too. It's got a great atmosphere, a bit more uplifting than some of the other songs that we've heard so far, like in the career, like on earlier albums, but at the same time, still kind of gloomy. It's like, it's not like it's a song that makes you want to dance or something. It's just kind of more of a chill, lighter feel than stuff on Pornography. And I just think it's a really classic song. I mean, this is one of the first tracks I really fell in love with the band with. I mean, Disintegration was the first album I heard by them, and it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Probably the album I've heard the most by any artist. But this album I heard pretty soon after that. I think maybe Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me before it. But once I heard this one, I was like, well, this is a very different feel than what I've heard so far by The Cure. Because I think I might have even heard Pornography before this too. So I was kind of on more hearing that gloomier side on that and Disintegration, although I wouldn't call that really, it's more dreamy than gloomy. But then I hear this album, I'm like, there's actually some really good hooks here. I like this. So, I mean, it's just a classic album, one of my favorites by the band, but not like top 3 favorite. And both of these songs are amazing. Like I said, 6 different ways and close to me.
Excellent picks.
Thanks.
Love it. Todd?
Okay.
Are you ready?
So it was really hard to pick 2 songs. I left some of my favorite Cure songs out. to have to
Oh.
pick two. And there was one upset, so I'll mention it as an honorable mention when I'm done. But for my first one, I chose In Between Days, because I never get tired of it. And even though I thought about picking other songs, when I heard it again, I was like, yeah, I have to pick this one. I think it's the best The Cure single by The Cure. I think it's better than Just Like Heaven. A lot of people say that Just Like Heaven is better than In Between Days, but I'm the other way around. And I just think it's the perfect combination between the keyboards and the drums, and it almost starts with a drum fill. I just love the way it does that. And I like it too much to push it out of the way for any of the other songs. So that's my first pick. My second pick, which was an upset, but when I heard it, I knew I had to pick it because it's my favorite kind of Cure song, and that's Sinking. Because it's got the slow hypnotic bass foundation, it's got the really simple drums, and then it's got the really lush synth orchestration. And I like the way he doesn't sing until it's halfway over. And I just think the atmosphere that they create on that is a lot like some of the earlier kind of droning Cure songs, but it's done with better production, and so I think it's even more effective. But it really hurts not to choose Push, because Push historically has been my favorite song on this album. And again, one of the things I love about it is that he doesn't sing until they've jammed for like 2.5 minutes. And but I really think that Push, I have to mention it because I think that that's the best lineup of The Cure just coming into their own. And Robert Smith, Lowell Tolhurst, Paul Thompson, Simon Gallup, and Boris Williams, the best Cure drummer. I know I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And I just think that Push is a great example of them just playing like a band and sounding really, really good. And I also really love Six Different Ways. It hurts not to pick it. So,
well, I would say that would be considered the classic lineup.
Yeah, I think so too.
Though I don't know at this point how much Lowell was doing, but who knows what was really going on behind the scenes. But
yeah, it says
I think Lowell was
keyboards,
still
but
contributing here.
it says keyboards, but I have my doubts. I think maybe that might be Robert Smith playing the keyboards.
It could be.
But it wasn't until Disintegration time where Lowell was just there, but not really doing anything.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's my favorite lineup of The Cure. Now, The Cure always sounds good, and The Cure always sounds like The Cure, even if it was just Robert Smith. And there are some songs that we'll talk about later that are just Robert Smith, but they still sound like The Cure. So I mean, it doesn't matter that much who's in The Cure, but that's still my favorite lineup.
I think it does matter to some degree who's in The Cure, but as long as you've got Robert there, I think
it still works.
It still works because he's running the show. But I do want to say, though, with this album, though, we are hitting that classic period. This is the second album that David M. Allen produced. I'm not taking anything away from the top, but once we get to Head on the Door, I think things really start coming together. And it might have something to do with what you were saying, Todd. You like this band, the way they play together, the way they sound, the way they produce the material. Like I'm saying, I think you've got David M. Allen. I think you've got this certain band. I think everything starts to come together on this right here. And like Todd, I'm going to go with In Between Days. I think it's the perfect. That's what brought me into The Cure, was that song. And I'm going to have to go back. I always bring up Night Flight, but I am pretty damn sure that's where I saw that track. With that whole video where the camera's going in and out, and they have like a camera attached to like a guitar, and they're following everybody in the studio. Ryan, you have to check out a video compilation of The Cure, because all that stuff is absolutely brilliant. The videos they were doing at that time, no one else was really doing anything like that.
Yeah.
It was all pretty much cutting edge.
And they all, like Reed said, they all, if there's a way you're supposed to feel about the song, they all make you feel that way.
Right.
Like if it's claustrophobic, the video makes you feel claustrophobic. And so
Yes.
all those
But
videos
Close
from
to
that
Me
period.
makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All I can say, you've got to see it.
Yeah, I honestly, I want to check it out because I don't know. I said that might be the only one I've seen. I don't know about that for sure. There might be others I've seen, but I don't really remember.
Mhm.
But I do need to check that out because now I'm curious.
But In Between Days
He's
is one
Cure. He is.
he is. Doo-doo-ch. But In Between Days, classic Cure track. Like I said, it's the track that brought me in. I still love it. I still love this whole album. It's great. My other choice is something no one else has chosen. This track's got catchy piano, strings. It's another Robert Smith pop song. Very listenable. This was the fourth song on the record. I think this also came out as a single. I'm not 100%. Yeah, but I'm not sure when it was released. I think it was released as a single, but it's got like a nice piano riff on it. And I'm going to go with six different ways.
I picked that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. God, I need to write shit down. Goodness gracious.
You're,
All right,
you're
so,
still allowed to like it.
so
Yeah.
Ryan and Todd were split. So
I had that as an honorable mention, but
Okay,
that's
well,
not
then
really
we're
fair
all
because I
lined
would
up
just
here.
pick them all.
Oh my goodness. Some days you're on and some days you're not. I guess I'm not on today. But that's my choice. I love that song. Of course, I love everything about this record. I think it's one of the best Cure albums. If you look at the reviews for this album, I mean, it's all 4.5, 4-star reviews across the board. So, like I said, this is where the Cure starts taking off. It's a classic. You can't go wrong with any of the tracks on this record. So, up next, we're going to go with Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and Reed.
Okay, so I'm on record as calling Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me my second favorite Cure album. And it's, of all of the records that we've talked about, really the last episode and this one, this is the album that I would give somebody who has never heard any Cure music and they just said, "What's the Cure about?" Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is the album. It's not a greatest hits album, but it's a tour of everything that the Cure do, right?
Mhm.
It's the Cure comfortable in their own skin. It's like Robert Smith is going, I've got these really dark, gothic, angsty songs, but I've also got these pop songs. Wait, I don't have to choose between them. I'll just do an album that's got all of it. So it's got some fantastic singles. It's got some really atmospheric pieces. And I don't know whether this is irony or not, but I have chosen 2 Todd Evans style tracks as my favorite songs.
Oh, now we've got a Todd Evans classification. Interesting.
Well, since he bothered to describe a particular style of Cure song as his thing. So my first one, ooh, ow, man, when you're old, just looking to the right can be tough. Stupid neck.
Yeah, be
All right.
careful, Reed. We're trying to keep things safe here.
My friends joke about wrapping me in bubble wrap. I'm so freaking fragile.
You and
My
John
first song
Travolta.
is The Kiss, the first track
Oh.
on the album. So The Cure, even though from the very, very first recordings of the band, they were a guitar rock band.
Mhm.
They are often thought of, especially by not people who aren't really into The Cure, but maybe you've just heard them. You may think of them as more of a synth band, but they were so much a guitar band. A guitar is
Oh,
so
yeah.
integral to their sound. And on The Kiss, it's right in your face. It just opens with 2.5 minutes of squalling guitar, just feedback and fuzz and wah. I don't think that, well, I don't know if that's Robert Smith or if it's whoever the second guitar player was in The Cure at the time playing that, but you just don't hear that type of opening on other Cure tracks. And I said, it's so in your face. And it's not like, 80s metal was all about the fluidity and virtuosity, and there is none of that at the opening of the Kiss. It's just raw fury and effect. And then it comes into Robert Smith again, kind of I call it shrieking, but I mean he's singing, but he's singing very aggressively up at the top of his range in order to match the tone of the song. And again, even though I don't think lyrically it's as dark as Pornography, it's still a bridge between that kind of pornography sound and the sound of Head on the Door. And in fact, this song and the next song, I think, are really zeroing in on the type of music that they would knock out of the park on Disintegration. My second song, which is actually similar stylistically, although not as aggressive, is The Snake Pit. So The Snake Pit is much more of a droning song. It's more atmospheric. It's hypnotic. It's got a repetitive drum and bass part. You still have the squalling guitar, but it's mixed much further back. And they let that drone go on and on. And I shouldn't just call it a drone. It's not like one note, right? But it sets up this motif and just repeats it over and over and over again. Gets you in a certain headspace before the lyric starts. And I think that's really key to that type of music. And there's actually science behind it, although you have to go for more than 10 minutes to achieve the actual hypnotic effect. But it gets you in the headspace before he starts singing. And then when he comes in with the lyric, it just everything flows together from there on out. And in fact, this is I have no idea if Sully Erna from Godsmack listened to this, but this track could be the prototype for Godsmack's Voodoo, which became a big radio hit in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now I don't remember history. It was a long time ago. But I prefer this. So there you go, The Kiss and Snake Pit, and I am dubbing those the Todd Evans style tracks.
I'm honored.
That's really something. This will go down in history.
And I like them too.
Well, I like the whole record, so. But let's turn it over to Mr. Gavalier and see what he has to say.
All right. So, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Another classic album. I think I like Head on the Door a bit more than I like this one personally, but it's still an excellent album. A lot of great stuff on here. Great sounding album. As Reed was saying, a good variety of sounds, but I actually chose two of the singles on here because they're absolute classics. First one is Just Like Heaven. Like it's amazing. I mean, it's I think that I was kind of biased on this one with this song because there's probably tracks on here that are better, but this is a very personal song to me. It's when I was saying songs that are kind of a soundtrack of my life, this is definitely one of them at a certain point of time. Just because, like, I don't know. It's a very romantic song. It kind of was related to a relationship I had at the time with a girl who really liked The Cure as well. But so it's personal in that regard. She used to ask me to play it on guitar and sing all the time. So definitely
how romantic is that?
Yeah, and so then also on top of that, I have played the song live before. So whenever I play something live, it's going to get more of a connection. I mean, it's just perfect sound on this song. Perfect guitar, perfect bass, perfect drums. Love the synths on here. They're so bright and cheery. This is probably one of the happiest Cure songs, and I do love that about it. It just makes you want to, like, get in your car and just drive with the windows down. This is what this song feels like. Just song about, like, a song like enjoying life. That's what this feels like, and I just love it. Then for my second track, I'm going to get a bit more sleazier with Hot, Hot, Hot. This is such a cool song. I mean, this is funk in the Cure style. Like, it's not like full funk, but that those little lead guitar parts. It's just real funky. Like I said, kind of a sleazy feel. It's hard rocking, even though it's funky as well. I like Robert's phrasing of his vocals on this one. A couple parts kind of feel like Walk This Way, the way he almost kind of like raps out a couple of the vocals. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just a really rocking song. I love the funk to it. I'm a huge funk fan. So anything that's funky at all is going to kind of catch my ear a little bit more than other tracks. And this definitely has that. Really catchy. I think it's a weird single. It probably wouldn't have been my choice, but at the same time, it is kind of a dancey type of song. Like you could definitely move to us. So I guess in some ways it was a good choice, but it's kind of a real sleazy song, like I said. And it feels kind of dirty when you listen to it. So
it's a good choice. I want to say though, I remember back at being on the OSU campus during that era though. This Cure album was everywhere. It was a big deal. Hot, Hot, Hot was always being played like on MTV. Just Like Heaven was big. I mean, I think this album really put them into like a superstar status. I mean, you couldn't get away from this record. I mean, a lot of people thought that it was a double record. There was a lot of filler on it, but I don't hear that on this record at all. I think it's I think they got better. They kept, obviously, we have Disintegration that comes next. But I think Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is a classic. I think everything was starting to even come more together here. And then once they got to Disintegration, everything was perfect. It was the perfect blend of doom and gloom and all that pop sensibility. But that's going, I'm just saying. But yes, great choice, Ryan. Love it.
Thanks. I just wanted to add too, personally, I don't think this album needed to be a double album. I don't think there's anything on it that's bad, but it does feel a little long to me with the type of material. I think that Disintegration, just briefly, I think the reason why that works so well as a double album is you feel like you're on a journey the entire album. This one just feels like a double album to me, and I don't know if it needed to be that. All the material is still good, but it could have been 2 albums, honestly.
Well, I do want to say that some of the material on this record that were B-sides, absolutely brilliant stuff that could have been on this record. As with all Cure albums, there's some of the B-sides that I think could have been, you could have like swapped some stuff out, and replaced it, even made it a better record if you would have taken some of those B-sides. But whatever. Todd Evans.
Todd, I'm going to be very disappointed if you don't pick Todd Evans style songs now.
I picked one. So I wanted to piggyback off that and say that every time I think about this album, I always think of it as there being 3 or 4 songs that I could do without until I actually listen to it. And then I go, no, there really aren't any. That
yes. Todd, I agree 100%. Because you kind of look at it and you listen to it as a whole conceptual work. Yes, it's varied. There's a lot of different styles. But when I go back and listen to it, I can't pick anything off of it that I want to do without. I like the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So I picked The Kiss, obviously. I think that, again, slow, simple drum part. And the interesting thing about The Kiss, that is Robert Smith playing at the beginning. And he sort of is he's playing lead, but he's playing rhythm at the same time. It's just kind of crazy, kind of schizophrenic. And that's kind of the same. This is going to seem like a weird combination, but that's kind of what Alex Lifeson started doing around 84, around Grace Under Pressure, is that he would play a lead solo, and within the lead solo there were chords. There was like rhythm in it. And that's kind of what that reminds me of.
Well, Todd, it's funny you mentioned that, because don't forget, there's a lot of 6-string bass and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be playing, chords on a 6-string bass. So it kind of sounds like guitar. Is it lead guitar? Is it
Right.
bass?
Right.
I mean, if you watch some of the even more of the current videos, hell, you've got Robert playing a bass, and whoever else is playing guitars playing a 6-string bass too. It's just like 6-string basses galore, and that has a lot to do with that overall sound, which is so. It's just
Bassy?
Well, it's not, but a 6-string bass is bassy, but it's not bassy. It's right in between. It's almost like a baritone, but there's something about that sound, because if you ever watch Robert Smith play the 6-string bass, a lot of it he's playing up really high up on the neck. So you do have the guitar sound, but it's real meaty, and I don't know. I wish I could describe it better, but I think that whole 6-string bass has a lot to do with the sound of the whole band, because most of the time I think they're always playing 6-string bass on all these tracks,
That's new to me. I have never really given that any thought. I didn't know there was that much.
Oh, there are tons on
I didn't
all
realize
these
that.
songs. Yeah.
But I think back to the Kiss. The greatest thing about the Kiss is the lyrics, and again, it takes you a long time to get to them. But I think "You Nail Me to the Floor and Push My Guts All Inside Out" is one of the better ones, one of the better angsty Robert Smith lyrics. But then it ends with "I never wanted any of this. I wish you were dead." And the part that's funny is if you read it in the lyrics, the very last little group of words on the lyric sheet is, "I never wanted any of this. I wish you were dead, 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 dead." And,
well, if that's not the end of a relationship, I don't know what is.
I normally don't like things where that's the sentiment, but I sure do love this. I mean, it's just one of those things where there are times in your life where this is the perfect song for you to hear.
Isn't Robert Smith still with his childhood sweetheart?
He is.
So
Yeah.
he
They
obviously
just had an anniversary.
Obviously had some ups and downs in the relationship, but he stuck with it.
Yep. But it's one of my favorite Cure songs of all time, and they actually come back to that sort of style of song on a couple albums later, on an album that we'll talk about soon that a lot of people don't think is a very good album. There's another song kind of like this that's also very, very good. My second pick from this album is 1,000 Hours. Okay. And this actually is a Todd Evans kind of Cure song too, because it does definitely have the atmospheric kind of synth parts and all that kind of stuff. But this song, there's a lyric in this song, "For how much longer can I howl into this wind?" And when I listened to this song today for the first time in a long time, I probably heard this song thousands and thousands of times, but I welled up, and it wasn't when he sang it. It was me just hearing the first part of the song and thinking about him singing it. And I just think that this song is one of the most powerful Cure songs. It has the melody with the synth, and then it has a piano counter melody, and then it has a guitar third counter melody that goes through it. And in my opinion, only a extremely gifted songwriter can do that successfully. The other person I can think of who does that a lot is Rick Ocasek from the Cars, where there'll be a melody and then there's another one and then there's another one, and they all fit together, and the fitting together of those melodies is what makes it so beautiful. And that's definitely the case for 1,000 Hours. The ultimate Cure song comes later, when that has counter melodies all going at the same time comes. I won't mention it since I know that we may talk about it later, but it's one of their soundtrack songs, but from much later. But anyway, I almost picked "The Perfect Girl," and the reason I love "The Perfect Girl" so much is it sounds like "Sweet Home Alabama." It's like dun, 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 dun. It's just the Cure sounding like.
Well, you're going to ruin it for me now. Thank you,
Sweet Home
Todd.
Alabama is just Too good for me. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that from you, but I'm
It's all
looking
right.
forward to talking
Once
about
again,
it some more.
it's still okay for you to like it, even if someone
Right.
else likes it.
Right. So those are my 2 plus 1.
Yeah, well, hey, I love it. Well, like I said, I always go back to Robert Smith doing pop songs, and I think 2 of the best pop songs on this record that are my choices is Sweet Home Alabama and Catch. Catch was
Yeah.
another single from this record. Anything when Robert talks about love and young love, and it just seems like everything, his lyrical content, whenever he's talking about relationships or love, he always seems to refer to it in such a pure, innocent way. And I think both of these songs capture that.
It makes you wonder if that's the real Robert Smith,
I think that's the real Robert Smith.
because he's been married to the same woman
But
for
I
his
think
whole life.
he's a hopeless romantic. All I'm saying is when I listen to these Cure songs, when Robert Smith does like Catch or Perfect Girl, it just reminds me of a simpler, more innocent time. When we hit Disintegration, the best song that he had ever written in this type of genre appears on that record. Well, I'm going to say there might be, okay, I'm going to go out on a limb. There might be 3 tracks on that record where he encompasses that whole relationship, being in love type of thing. And I freaking love it because it just like takes me back to another time.
There's some on the one album after that too. I know what you're talking about. I think it's the knowledge in the back of your head that there's so much time,
right,
that you can enjoy just a moment because there's going to be so many more.
Exactly. And I think Robert Smith's pop love songs capture that type of innocence, that young love type of thing. And especially on this record with Catch and Perfect Girl, I don't know. It just takes me to another time. And I'm not trying to be too heavy here, but I'm just saying he is able to put that type of feeling across. And I don't think a lot of people can do that. And I just think a lot of his songs are really amazing.
You heard it here first. The Cure, love songs for the functional.
If they just had like a Cure love song thing, I think it'd be great.
But you know, we've talked about 3 of the singles, but the first single on this album was "Why Can't I Be You," which is another song that I could have picked because I think it's great.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that was the first single.
It came out before the album. And I think also we have to, I mean, we're talking about this particular period of the Cure. I have to wonder if these people right here, this is the time when the executives at Elektra were really doing a great job finding bands and really getting the best out of them. I mean, there's the Cure, there's Guadalcanal Diary, there's They Might Be Giants, bands that were kind of moving along at a pretty good rate, and then Elektra got a hold of them and they went phew. So I think that is, they've got to get some of the credit. I think
that's a good point, but think about Elektra just in the history aspect. I know we're going on a tangent, but welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, where we often go on tangents and people make comments.
This one's my fault.
No, that's okay. This is all about the discussion, and that's what's important here. And people have made comments. Oh, you guys kind of go on tangents. I said, hell yes, we do. We're having a conversation. But think about this, Todd. Think about the Doors.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Love. You know, pretty much cutting edge stuff. And it just seems like Elektra, that's kind of, I'm not saying that's their niche, but it kind of goes along with what had came before. It just makes perfect sense.
And
Think about Dawkins. Think about Metallica. Or Metallica on Elektra.
Well,
I have heard.
wait a minute, Reed. That's not that far off because
Yeah.
they did sign Metallica, and who else was doing anything quite like that when they got signed to Elektra?
I have seen some interviews where some of the Elektra artists, the one in particular I'm thinking of is John Flansburgh from They Might Be Giants, where he says that they had a shift in leadership around 1996, and then everything started to go downhill because the people that built Elektra into basically an alternative powerhouse in the early 90s, I don't know if they got fired or jumped ship or whatever, but
I don't know.
but yeah, there were people at Elektra who were open-minded and creative, who not only signed a whole bunch of great artists that were previously regional. 10,000 Maniacs comes to mind, but they took artists like The Cure who were already doing well and turned them into super groups, basically.
Yeah, 10,000 Maniacs are another one of those bands in that shakeup. Totally lost their deal.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great point. I love it when we go on a little tangent. So far, we've talked about Gloom, Young Love, and Elektra management shakeups. But that's what I love about it.
I think that's the whole gamut.
I think that's the whole gamut. Does anybody else have anything to add or anything to plug or anything or nothing?
Ryan's Final Destination.
All right.
I should probably talk about Rush fans and the A Farewell to Kings deep dive that
Talk about it.
I was on with, and it was a lot of fun, and everybody should go watch that if you haven't yet.
Did you host that though?
I did not. No.
Well, all right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate everyone coming on. Fascinating discussion. Everybody had pretty much, well, we crossed a little bit, but like I said, as we keep going through the catalog. Oh yeah, I should mention for the next show, we are doing 3, not 4. I'm going to write this down. So we're looking at Disintegration, Wish, and Wild Mood Swings. So that's what we'll do. So everybody, we're going to sign off. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe, leave a comment, ring the damn bell. You know how it works. Stay on the line and we'll pick the next day for the next show. All right. Good night, everybody. And I appreciate you tuning in.
Stay functional.
Stay functional.